Why don't we start with, first of all, I'm Mike Cesario. Good afternoon. And my background is kind of crazy because I'm going to move here so I can see you all. There we go. Because I'm trained in the theater and was a marching band guy and moved over into the drum corps arena after doing marching band and grew up in the theater. So had a major in directing and then went on to grad work in design. So it's kind of a strange way to approach what we do in the sense that I've worked all my life with music educators, but I've never been one, which of course I think is terrific. And the reason I do is you have the worst job in the world. Horrible, horrible job. Just terrible. And the reason you do, as you know, is because you're there all hours of the day and night. You couldn't ask me to do this job. And the reason is simple enough, and that's that the kids depend on you for everything. So when we say there's the responsibility of good design, responsibility of it, we take on this huge responsibility that we know is more than mere teaching and more than mere teaching music, don't we? First of all, we stand at the band room door waving goodbye to the math teacher at 2:30 in the afternoon. They're putting their feet up, petting the dog, having an adult beverage. They have to correct papers. Oh, right, like the numbers have changed. And you're going to go home and get that and laugh and laugh and laugh. So part of what we're about is that we're different animals, aren't we? Teaching is more than just a way to exchange information. Teaching is really from the heart, and teaching music is from the soul. And so the problem is that it means that every day we put our heart and soul on the line. It seems like a strange and bizarre thing to do, and somehow it seems normal to us, which is crazy. Crazy, no? And so what happens is that when we run into obstacles, we land up, when we say, what's the opportunity? Oh, you can bring that coffee right in here. And it's, come on. She's ready for she is really, oh no. Photogenic or what? Thank you. Now the session could begin. Thanks. So one of the things that we have to do is decide how we're going to discharge this responsibility. And that's doubly hard because the children in your care are, let us be honest about it, going to tell you stuff you don't even want to know. You're the only cool teacher they have. And you're the only one that, quote unquote, understands them. And it's really true, probably. We know they'll tell you stuff they won't tell their parents. And so this kind of commitment that you've made, this commitment that you have made for this level of responsibility lands up being more than a full-time job. Let's just put it that way. And your wives and significant others know that. If you have kids, they certainly know that. And we only hope that they can read your sense of duty and responsibility. Come on up. I've moved everybody to the front except the observers. So that. Why don't we start with who are you and since you now know who I am. He did what? Oh, by the way, and I got to design Broadway shows and Las Vegas Spice on Ice at the Flamingo. Topless ice skaters. Take that for the video. So, they want to video me? Ha 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 ha. Okay. So, let's start with you, David.
I'm David Adelett. I'm from Franklin High School in Tennessee.
How are you? You doing good?
Doing great.
Excellent. How big's the band?
About 150.
Excellent.
Chelsea Blackburn. I'm the color guard director at Franklin High School.
And you were wondering, when's he coming? Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
Jenny Pacifico. I am an assistant band director in Dodge City, Kansas. I teach high school and middle school.
Cool. Cool. Jenny Pacifico. The family come over to California.
Into it.
Oh, God bless.
But they're in California.
Let's see. Well, yeah, makes sense. Otherwise, you'd be Jenny Atlantico. Yes, exactly.
Jason Richards, also from Dodge City. We teach together.
Excellent, excellent. We love Kansas. Our friend Marla is at Goddard. Yeah, she's crazy. She has a house with a dirt floor. A dirt floor. Yeah, it's amazing.
Tim Wise from Waynesville, North Carolina, Tuscola.
Oh, nice. How big's the band?
About 100.
Yeah. How about you?
140.
Oh, good sizes.
Emily Mueller from Dayton, Ohio, Brookville High School. I teach middle school as well.
We love ya. And we're from Dayton. The Dayton team is in the back there, so they're. Eric?
Eric Dunn from West Palm Beach, Kings Academy. The band's about 60.
Yay! And now that I'm a Floridian, I moved to Florida. 35 years in New York City. I get it. What's that? Palm City? Yeah.
Adam Mueller, Southmore High School in the Oklahoma City area, Oklahoma.
And we love you too. How big's the band now? Big.
Yeah, it's about 160,
Yeah, good stuff. So that means that we're not talking to somebody with a 40-piece band here. You know, we can skip over some of that stuff. They're next door. And talking to Susan. So that responsibility, we'll go back there, but that responsibility is ever so important, and we see it every day. So how do we maximize it for our students at this time? What are the discussions going on? What are being said, as Gary said, what's being said? What's being told to the drum chorus? What's being told to the big BOA bands? Is it trickle down, or do we invent our own? I say we invent our own. We do what's right for us, for our size, for our shape, for what we think is right. Look, he says, getting up slowly so the camera can follow. And by the way, this thing is giving me like little electrode things. Do you have like a little clicker there? Yeah. Okay, stay on topic. I say that it's time for us to do our own thing. And part of that is we're not 400 pieces. We do not have 400 band dads carrying big springs or seating devices that unfold and walls that bleed and snow globes that blow up with girls inside. Oh. We don't have. The really funny thing is, both of those are from the same band, different years. Luckily enough, if we could all play like that band, we'd be all set. We have a specific set of exercises and ideas that our bands can do, and the ability to present a show in a way that we can do. Now, luckily enough for us, we're about the same size as the drum chorus. So we can just, that was a good idea, just borrow, as they say, put them in your basket and take them home. The problem is we don't have, you know, a year of clinic and this and a little rehearsal in the afternoon and then camps and once a month, and then you bring them all together and beat them up for 350, you know. We don't have any of that. We've got to somehow, but you know, they are masters of pig cheating. They are the absolute epitome of taking, you know, a sow's ear and turning it into a silk purse. They use tricks that we need to learn. And one of the discussions they're having is, you know, is it genius or pig cheating, you know? If the, I've often, and I'll encourage you to look at various BOA and drum corps tapes to see what you can learn. But what I'm going to ask you to do is, you know, everybody goes, oh, take a look at that. And then you look at it and go, oh, they were really good. Click. The answer is, okay, how did they finesse this? How did they get this to do this? Because often you get a commentary on your tapes or whatever that says, you know, you get 3 judges and they all say letter D. So it's not working. You know, I mean, they don't know it's letter D. I'm just, you know. Let me tell you, the problem is not at letter D. It's 64 counts before letter D. You're not developing it. Look, I was very lucky. Oh, sorry. Geez, does this make any difference in the sound? I was very lucky They never use my tapes because I make them do. I was very lucky. I worked for Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey. And one of the great things about working for the circus, and it was horrible. I mean, working for the circus was horrible because I started out doing, are you ready? Are you sitting? I started out doing elephant blankets. Used elephant blankets. I had to keep a set of clothes at work and a set of clothes at home to repair used elephant blankets. So it's not the glamour you think it is. Anyway, but I learned a bunch of things because I got to go down to Sarasota, where they were working and so on. And there's encampments of these. And I found out some amazing things. Because, I always think of us as training people. We're in training, right? Posing for the still cameras. I wasn't going to actually let you get that pose. Because that'd be on, Drum Corps Planet tomorrow. Another idiot thing that Cesario's doing. One of the things I learned was that they believe in early training as we do. That 5- and 6-year-olds are doing stuff. We'd like to start our kids at 5 and 6, but we'll take 5th and 6th grade even if we can. The important thing is that they learn those basics that are essential to what they're doing. And that means that the littlest kid can actually get on that trampoline. The littlest kid can actually get on that high wire. I mean, the high wire for him is only this high, but it is that way. No profiles. Here up only. You got to do 2 things at once in this job. Now, so what do they learn? You go, well, if they learn that already, what's the big deal? A full half of this is about showmanship. A full half of what they do is about showmanship. And I realized that they use the same kind of rules we do in the theater. First and foremost, tell them what you're going to do. Secondly, do it. And thirdly, tell them you just did it. Now, those are rules that I use to this day, and I learned them in the circus. Why? You get the acrobat, the aerialist, and he starts his routine. He doesn't go, I got to do this stunt, so I'm climbing up the ladder, and when I get there, I'll do it, and you're going to love it because it's really great. And that's it. And so he jumps off of this side and gets over to this side, and he goes, well, that was a little harder tonight than it's been before. And you're done. Even though technically that stunt was exactly the same. He starts here this way. For he climbs the ladder, right? Do they ever go, never. Step over step. Do you think they can't? If you think they can't do this fast, you should see it when lunch is called. Even the littlest ones, boom, into the thing, out of there. He climbs the ladder. He lifts himself up to the top, right? Here I am in my spangled cape. And even though I look like Cinderella, I'm about to risk my life for you, right? And there's a lot of these kinds of gestures and magnificent, tonalities, and the cape is lifted off by some lovely young thing, right? And now he's finally ready to risk now he steps to the edge. Have you ever seen them grab the trapeze on the first time? Never. Nor will they. It's not right. It's not exactly perfect. I'm going to risk my life. I can't afford it. Trust me. That guy could grab it one-handed and drop to the ground and get out. But it's got to be about telling you what he's going to do. I'm about to risk my life for you. This is the hardest stunt in all of circusdom. In fact, only one man can do this death-defying feat, and it's the great Cesario, And then he does the stunt, and it's pretty spectacular. When he gets here, does he do this? Whew, glad that's done. No. There for you! I have done it, right? The whole and he will pull out, all of that kind of, and the bowing and the scrape. You know how to bow, right? You don't know how to bow? Oh, okay. When I taught at Juilliard, I had to teach opera singers how to bow. And then I adapted it for, here, let me get it all together. And I adopted it for drum majors, okay? Here's how to teach your drum majors to bow. Ready? Not them, but me. And if you don't believe that works, try it. Their egos, absolutely, you know. So not them, but me. And if you have to know how long to stay down, and my shoes, and then come back up. Now, if you need to milk it even further, when you go down, and my shoes. Now, when you come back up, put your palms forward, and you come back up, and then lift. And I can get 5 minutes more applause than you, even though we conducted the same tune. Well, the application is so often when we apply shows and put together shows, we think we're doing a good job. We think we're playing by all the rules. We think we've got this together. We don't. We didn't tell them we were going to do something. There's a corps this season who's got a terrific last number. And when I say terrific, I mean really dynamite work. They're playing hard stuff. But ahead of that is the reprise of another tune, and they just start in. There's no anticipation of this piece. There's no, oh, I can't wait to see it. There's none of that. They just start the piece. You're 10, 12 bars in before you know what they're playing. And you wonder why there's no response. Go back, kill the 64 counts before it, and lead us into it. Tell us what mood you want to set. And that's what we're missing today and what we're telling the drum corps. You know, you can see that some of the drum corps this season have gotten the message. Melody, remember that part of music? Yeah, you know, there was harmony and rhythm. Oh. It's okay to have some. I'm not mad at Eric Whitaker or Jennifer Higdon, particularly, but I'm not sure that, okay, I hate them. No, I don't know either one of them. What I know is it's not all that good for marching band. That, in fact, what we're doing, and let's be honest about what it is we do, right? We're a living advertisement for the music program. We're not the concert band. We're the billboard for the concert band. We're not the orchestra. We're the advertisement for the orchestra. We're not the jazz band. We're the lab to find out where kids are that could possibly play jazz. That's what we're doing. That's the responsibility of an educated teacher. You know, we could talk about it. What's our responsibility? Our responsibility is to make sure there's more kids in. Why do you do this? Why would we do marching of all things? I mean, really? Well, the answer is it's a great way to show the kids off. It's a great way for some of the kids, you know, they're not going to be first chair, you know, Chicago Symphony Orchestra. That's not happening. Although a drum corps kid is, in fact, first chair trumpet at the Chicago Symphony Orchestra, and a drum corps kid is first chair trumpet at the Metropolitan Opera Orchestra. And the drum corps kid is, you know, plays every night on a David Letterman show. So the drum corps kids do show up, you know, and the marching band kids do show up. But the point is most of our kids are going to enjoy music from the other side of the footlights. And this may be their only exposure to that great piece of music. This may be their only exposure to Rhapsody in Blue, or, you know, it's not like there's music appreciation classes, you know, flourishing all over the country. So our responsibility becomes that it's an opportunity for us to give these kids information they could not get before, in a way that's bite-sized chunks. If you say, we're going to do, you know, I want you, now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to sit back, listen, and I'll play you the New World Symphony, you know. Don't turn out the lights, do you know? Because by the time we get to Dee 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 dee. You got half of them texting and half of them asleep. But if they've got to play, dee da da dum, dee 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 ba da 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 dum. That's a lot of work. And if they take as many breaths as I just did, you would fire them. So one of the things is this is an opportunity for us to take our responsibility seriously and sneak it in. It's like that new product that V8 has, their fruit Twizzlers or something, where they taste like fruit juice, but they're really vegetables inside. It's the same thing. We're hiding the vegetables under this good time, the halftime contest, things like that. And that's what we know we're doing, even if the parents don't, which is one of the reasons why you never let the parents decide any of this stuff. Bad if they decide. You have to be the boss, whether you even want to or not. You have to be the person. So now let's get to what that means in terms of showing them what you're going to do, telling them what you're going to do, showing them what you did, and then telling them what you just did. And one of the things is that we also leave off the ta-das, the finishes, the telling them what you just did. After you've played that really difficult passage, you don't just stop, but you guys do. The 400-piece band doesn't have this problem. Because if they do it, and you go, holy cow, 400 pieces just did that. You and I, look, we have to remember that the stadium is blown up. It's not the concert hall. Mr. Bernstein can finish a tune by changing the chord on the release, right? You sit to the end and go, ha-dum, right? And it echoes in the hall, and Carnegie Hall's lustrous sound envelops you, and you go, that was really, and subtle too. Oh, was that cool? The marching band version of that is ha-dum, beep, 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 hum, bum, tum, fum, ah, pa-da, pa-dum, rum, ba-bum, pa-da. It's done. Get it? I mean, obviously, I exaggerate, but, you know, you've got to give me an ending. I know that's not fashionable. I know that right now we're having trouble, and that's why, you know, the moms and dads in the stands are just going to sleep. They love Jimmy, and they love his uniform, his FJM uniform. FJM's in the back. Fred J. Miller's actually in the back, though. I always say I work for Fred J. Miller, and that's actually him. It's not, we know we love that, but the real thing is they should love the show. Give them something to hang on to. Just because, you know, we really want to do that new rifle spin doesn't mean we should deprive them of a toss or two, do you see? The drum corps are beginning to pick this up again. They went through a pretty dry time. I mean, they were serving up, you know, saltine crackers with no butter. I mean, they were just dry. How does that work for the microphone, okay? A little dry, and I'll do it again. What we have to do is give them juicy stuff that they can lay their hands on. Consequently, our marching band tunes also need be layered, just like you would do in concert. You need to layer the stuff. There has to be something available for the audience that sees it once. I didn't say cheesy, although I am from Wisconsin. I do have a cheese head hat. I didn't say cheesy, but I did say popular. Populist. Something that can have appeal. Your job is to present a program that is compelling. Does it have intrigue? I hope. Does it have subtlety? I hope. Does it have appeal? I hope. But it must be compelling. It must move us to do something and not just recognize Jimmy because he's my grandchild. Make sense? What about this show rings the bell? Is it that melody? Is it the moment when they're all going to come together and throw the flags? I don't care what it is. You have to have it. And of course, that's how I look at these shows. When you say, well, let's look at the tapes, as we were talking about. What's the tape look like? Well, let's take a look and see what it was that drove them crazy. What is it that they did that made it? And then let's go back. Okay, that's the moment that got a lot of applause. Now let's go take a look at how it was structured. How did they get that? One of the ones that I always recommend, because it's easy to see the minute once I explain it, is 93 Phantom Regiment. They had this crab-stepping wedge, okay? Everybody remembers it. If you didn't see it, the minute you see it, you'll remember it. So it has this crab-stepping wedge, crab-stepping like the drums do. And the whole horn line crab steps across the field. People remember the crab-stepping wedge. They remember the fact that they were standing up. Yay! They have no idea how that was set up. None. Make sense? Well, that's not their job. It's not the audience's job to go, clever. But if you want to have, in fact, when the audience goes, clever, I'm in the wrong business. Then we're doing something. We're asking them to analyze it instead of enjoy it. Do you see? But that had a huge setup. First of all, they had to get away so nobody was anywhere near where the crab-stepping wedge would show up. Otherwise, it's not a big surprise if you see them kind of doing their nails, reading up on sales, and kind of assembling over there. Excuse me, pardon me, out of my way. Hot coffee coming through, lady with the baby. You don't want to see that wedge. It's got to suddenly appear. Yes? So it's got to be unfolded, and so they've got to set up something that suddenly goes, folds like a folding door, boom, there it is, right? So to make it, they've got to make it that way. So they've got to go backwards in their head. Sometimes it's called writing backwards. The effect, go backwards to it. Because somewhere in there you can fluff around. And they're going to make the crab-stepping wedge. Now, it's going to take that time, and we want to watch it develop. So we go, they're getting closer, okay, the music changes, and now the crab steps. So the fact that they made a wedge, which in some worlds would be the effect, they made one, people thought that was the effect. And then the whole thing took off and came across the field. So the place is going, yay! But they did not, and of course everybody remembers the crab-stepping wedge. They don't know what triggered the applause. What triggered the applause was, if you know the Hinastera, the Malambo, it goes, right? And then there's a drum corps ending on the end of it. But we took out the tubas. They were very angry because they didn't get to play some. That's all part. It's the only hard part you had in the whole damn show, and we took it out. Some. We left it in the drummers, and at the end of the song, right, is a 360 turn, a complete revolution. So they're going, each one individually. The whole thing goes, and now they open up, running, but they open up into a picture that's on the flags. And it's this huge long diagonal with a loop around it. But the important thing was how you got the applause, and then you make sure that that second move is short enough that they're still screaming from the first move, right? But how it got the applause was the punctuation. The look what we just did. Make sense? So there was the anticipation of the move, what we call a guess what I'm going to do. Secondly is here it is. And thirdly is take that. And then there's this quick kind of resolution, and off they go, to give you the biggest sound they possibly can and the biggest look they possibly can because they've been tiny for so long. And they open this thing up. The place is, people's eyes are bleeding. And I urge you to get that DCI 1993 tape and take a look because there's several things in that show that you can steal right out. What's the other one I recommend? 91 Phantom. Why? they're doing all this opera. You can see the tricks because you'll recognize the tricks quicker than you will if I say, go to last year's Blue Devils. The tricks are so dense in the Blue Devils that you don't know that the Blue Devils played standing still and marched not playing more than anybody else in the entire, and won. That's how good they are at don't look at the tricks. Make sense? So you have to do the same thing. Some of it is not, are you a fine musician? I assume so. But it's what are the tricks that we use? What's my responsibility to get the kid some applause, to get this kid a trophy or two?